All right. Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the stream here. Real excited for this one. We have Kristel today, and we're going to be talking about marijuana addiction and
You
how
just
she
love
overcame
calling
it.
me Crystal.
Is it?
You
It's
love
Kristel.
it's
Is it
Kristel.
Kristel? Ah, okay. Potato, tomato. You know how it goes.
What?
Uh, so Kristel is here today, and we're going to discuss marijuana addiction. So, yeah, guys, let's just dive right into it. Well, we'll talk a little bit about how Kristel and I met later in the show, kind of give her plugs and stuff. But for now, we'll give you guys what you've been waiting for. So, Kristel, when was the first time you smoked marijuana? How'd you get into it?
So I started smoking around the age of 12 and or probably even a little bit younger than that. Like I was hitting about 12. But I was hanging out with some friends and my cousin and my older cousin who happened to be like 19 or 20 at the time was kind of like want to try it and so that's kind of like how it went down at a park and I didn't like continue smoking a lot after that, but I did, sometimes dabble in it when I could afford it
Unintended.
because I was too young to afford it.
That's so funny. Like the first time I smoked was with my cousin too. Something about those cousins, I swear, they're so convincing. It's
Toxic.
like toxic cousins, right? Yeah, I trusted him too. So, but he's a good guy. So you had your first smoke. What was? I always like to ask, what was your first experience smoking? Because some people they either experience paranoia and they just don't get high, or they get high and they like freak out, or the third is that they really enjoy it. So where were you in that camp?
I definitely didn't enjoy it. I was like, I felt paranoid and I felt anxious. I felt like how people describe smoking spice feels like you're sinking
Mm,
into whatever you're sitting at. I felt like I was sinking and I was dragging my feet and I did not feel good. I felt very dehydrated. It was like the first time in my life I've ever felt that level of dehydration.
mm,
Um, and then I felt dizzy and then I know I blacked out for sure.
damn.
I did
Just a,
feel very cold too. Like my extremities felt very cold.
okay. Did you get like hot mouth and stuff? Like,
I didn't notice getting cotton mouth. I probably did, but I didn't
okay,
notice. I was too much worried about like not dying.
okay. I mean, that's the first time I've heard that experience before, blacking out and stuff on the first try. So that's pretty wild. So you had your first smoke, and was it pretty instant for you where you got like hooked onto it, or was it like, I'm just going to try it once in a while, here and there, and then it just progressed over time? How did that, you know,
Well,
progress for you?
so like almost all my friends smoked, but I couldn't hang out with my older friends all the time, so it wasn't very accessible to me to smoke. But I think around the age of maybe 14, 15, it started kind of revving up because like my teenage friends, like my friends that were 14, 15, were getting drugs from their like siblings. And also a lot of parents were smoking with their kids, which was really
Hmm.
interesting. And so that's kind of like how I ended up kind of doing it maybe once every month. So like maybe I'll do it 3 days for 1 month, and then the next month I'll do it again, maybe for 3 days. But I'll count it as once a month because I wasn't smoking a whole blunt. I was just like taking little
Right.
puffs.
Yeah, just getting a little high. Do you think that's a good idea for parents to smoke with their kids if they do decide that they're going to allow their kids to smoke?
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea. I think that it's more about the developmental stuff. Like your
Mm,
child is still trying to develop. And a lot of the times when kids resort to smoking, it's not always just curiosity. It's them trying to escape something. And
right.
so and so if the parents are using that as a form of escapism and then it's rubbing off on the kids and they're bringing the kids in, it's almost like they're teaching their children how to have a like a not a good way of regulating or coping with problems. So yeah, I don't think it's okay. Now if you guys are, your kid is in their 20s, and why not? That's not
Yeah, if
bad.
they're full adults. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if they're full
Now,
adults.
do you think that's better than like a really strict parent being like, yo, you can't like if you touch drugs, this is a big issue. we're we're cutting you off, that kind of attitude? Or would it be better to
I think
engage with
that
the
if
child?
you're telling your kids you're gonna cut them off because they do drugs, it's a little. I think it's a little insensitive because as when you're young, you want to experiment, and when you're young, you want to escape. So it's just I don't think it's fair to say that, but I think that if I had to choose between parents that lets me do drugs and parents that don't let me do drugs, I prefer the parent that won't let me do drugs because
Mm,
they actually
okay.
know it's not good for me. But like I have a teenager and he doesn't want to do drugs because he has seen how it blurs time for me. Like
Okay.
I come through and it's like he's like, Mom, we're gonna play video games. I come like 17 minutes late. Where were you? In the garage working out. It's like you're not working out. Like you
You
smell
smell the
funny.
opposite like you worked out. Yeah.
Yeah, you smell like you rolled around in grass, Mom. So like things like that. He kind of, he kept an account of how different, like even his friends, they would smoke and they would forget things or not be very reliable, et cetera, et cetera. So
Mm, sure.
I see how he doesn't want to be an unreliable person.
That's
And
awesome.
so, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And I asked it. So I was on the opposite end of you, where none of my family smoked. Like it was really, don't smoke, don't do drugs, etc. And I always like was wondering, like, sometimes I would wish that I had a parent that would like have blazed bud with me. Um, and now, so I'm just curious, and it's nice hearing that perspective that maybe neither side is the way to go, to one extreme or the other. So
Mhm.
yeah, I just want to touch on that too. We can clip that. So back to your story here. So Kristel, you were getting into it. You did it a few times a month. Would you say that it got rough for you? Like when did you start to realize, okay, this isn't just fun anymore. I'm not just enjoying it for the high. There's some negative consequences that are actually starting to happen.
A few times. So like this one time, I was like around 16. I went on a date with a guy who had never smoked weed before, and I just so happened to have weed, and he wanted to try it for the first time, and he actually blacked out on
Oh,
the date.
so just like you.
Yeah, but what sucked was is like we were just talking. We were standing face to face talking, and he just like faints. He hits his head on the concrete, and like
Oh, damn.
he's bleeding and stuff. And I was just like,
Shit.
oh, this is scary. I cooled down on it. And then around the age of 19, I was noticing like when I would smoke, I would get like this sharp pain in my chest. So then that
Mm,
made me kind of slow down again. And then I picked it back up around the age of, I want to say like 21. And then I just wouldn't stop smoking at all. But I think the real like ending point for me was when I got CHS, and so it's like cannabinoid something
hyperemesis.
syndrome.
Yeah, if you
Yeah,
can explain that more in detail, that'd be
yeah.
great.
So like last year, I was smoking so much. I think I was smoking maybe at least like $100 worth of pot every 48 hours. And I don't know, one day I woke up and I was feeling so sick. Like I couldn't eat anything. I was puking out what I was eating. And I was trying to drink water because I couldn't eat like any more food. And I was puking that out. And I was like, man, what is wrong with me? I need to go to the emergency room. So I went to the doctor and I got tested. And I also got checked for COVID, all this stuff. And they're like, no, you're fine. And I'm like,
Hmm.
what? I was like, you know what? Maybe I just ate something bad. So I went back home. I tried to eat food. Everything was fine because I just came from the hospital. So I wasn't like smoking or anything. But when I re smoked, it happened again. But it went on for like days, me feeling sick. And then I was getting these random fevers. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is really weird. And I would get these chills. I don't know if they were fevers, but I would get these really bad chills. So the only thing that could help was me getting in the shower, and I would be in there for like 4 hours, 5 hours, just laying in the tub. And so something kind of told me, wait, let me see what happens if I smoke weed again. And this is after 4 hours of not touching weed, and I feel better. Da da da. I managed to have like eat some chips and some water. Everything's fine. I'm like, let me hit this joint. Boom, again. So I
Mm.
went through that for about 2 weeks. Then I got okay. Somehow, like it regulated on its own. And then when I moved out to the valley, this is while I was working at Swarovski. I, I was stressed out and I was smoking, and it happened again.
Mm.
And I'm like, what the heck is this? And I would go, I mean, talking about days, like with those chills, days with chills. I mean, it was bad to the point where I had to send pictures to my boss of like all my, everywhere I've puked at.
Oh, fuck.
And all the puddles of water and towels that I had laid out because I just could not like stand anymore. It was terrible.
So you had to like lay down or like
I had
sleep
to,
on the ground or something or
I
what?
either had to lay down in the tub or I had to lay down on the floor, but I had to like, I couldn't stand up anymore. Like I just couldn't stand up anymore. Like it was bad.
Man,
It
that
was
is
bad.
nuts. So I've never had CHS. However, I have known people that do. Like a person I sponsored had it pretty bad, and then my cousin. We were at a wedding this summer, or this last summer, and she was saying she had the CHS, and she was in the hospital for like a couple weeks. Like it's no joke. I'm still not entirely sure what it is. So guys, anyone watching, comment down below if you've been through it or if you know what it is and stuff, and kind of like all
So
the
it's like you
scientific
have
details
the,
about it. I
so
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
the natural
Cannabinoids, yeah.
cannabinoids. I don't know how to pronounce
Good,
it.
good, close enough, close enough.
Yeah, well, like we already produce it, so when we're smoking too much, it actually like kind of compounds on top of each other, and we're not able to like, um, we're not able to, what's it called? We can't like register it out of our take it out of our system through our kidneys. We can't flush it out. So I think what basically happens is just compounds and compounds and compounds, and then it becomes a problem. It makes us sick because we're supposed to naturally be able to expel it. But if
Uh,
you're adding more of the cab, but you know what I mean, on top of it, it just kind of keeps you backed up. So you start getting sick, and it messes with your nervous system.
oh, interesting. Okay, we'll have to clip that. That's a good definition there.
I could be
So
wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
it sounds accurate to me. I didn't even know we produced our own cannabinoids. So is it
Cannabinoids.
so you're saying we're kind of always high then, in a sense, like we're just
Yeah.
oh, okay, nice. That's cool. So, I guess we'll move forward from that. So you started to realize it was bad. You were getting CHS a few times.
Mhm.
When did you finally have that last straw, that breaking point where you're like, I am done with this. I'm sick of weed. I'm sick of being sick from weed. It's time to start anew and create something new for my life.
Well, at this point, I wasn't getting CHS, but wasn't I wasn't getting what I needed from marijuana anymore, like that creative vibe. I wasn't
Mm.
getting even hungry anymore. Like it wasn't really
Yeah.
doing anything for me. And I remember like something happened where somebody stole money from my partner's bank, and my reaction to it was so out of control. Like it felt out of body. Like though you couldn't see me really react, the inside of me felt like it was having a mental breakdown. Mainly because it wasn't really so much the money, but I felt like an invasion of privacy. And it almost was giving me kind of like this really bad paranoia. But prior to that, I was also getting um, weird, I was seeing things. Like sometimes I'll be driving my car and I think somebody's next to me. Or
So like paranoia. You're getting some
that or
paranoia about stuff.
hallucination and stuff like that. And so when
Oh,
that happened with my partner, the whole bank situation. I remember going to the bathroom and thinking about how this guy hacked into our bank account and all this other stuff. And it just started getting worse and worse. And I felt my soul leave my body and telling me that life isn't real. Like that living and life, am I just dead? Am I just moving at the speed of light and I'm already dead? So I'm just like seeing myself from the past. Like it was really freaking weird. And I just walked to the heater and put my hands on the heater and it was so hot, but I couldn't even feel it. And then I
Whoa.
was like, okay, this is it. I'm not doing this anymore. Like I'm freaking done. Like if this is how I'm gonna feel every single time I smoke, I don't want to do it anymore. It's not worth it. Yeah. So that was kind of like what made me go, yeah, this isn't, I'm not seeing the point of this anymore. I'm not benefiting it from it. And it dehydrates me. It doesn't help me get any work done. It's just not worth it. It really, really didn't feel like, and I felt like I depended on it too much and
Mm,
it blurred my time. Like I would never be on time for things. My schedule was
mm,
trapped. Like I still struggle with sleeping. And
okay.
I have gotten cravings for smoking. Like I have a friend who smokes so much and I hang out with him. But even though I crave smoking, the smell makes me like a little bit.
Mm, interesting. So what do you do then when those cravings come up?
Um, I just like have chips and sour cream. I just picked up another addiction, like chips. No, I just kind
There's
of
your
get over
answer, guys. Chips and sour cream if you're trying to quit. Secret.
Salvadorian sour cream is the bomb. But no, I just don't have the desire for it. As many times as I thought about smoking, like when I think about it, it just I just feel grossed out. I
Mm,
really do. Which listen, if y'all like to smoke, do your thing. But now the way I look at it is just like a nightmare. And I had a nightmare
yeah.
of smoking weed. I had a nightmare that I was smoking weed the other day. And I woke up from my nightmare like, oh my God, did I smoke? And I was like,
Right.
checking my breath, smelling my fingers to see if I actually smoked. And I was like, oh, I didn't. Oh my God. I went back to bed and I was like, whew,
Yeah,
I'm
we
going
call
to.
those using dreams. Those things are no joke. They're they come once in a while. And you'll probably still experience them throughout your journey. Yeah, I had one where I was like smoke bud with my good buddy from like college and stuff, and you're having a great time. And I woke up and I'm just like, fuck, all that hard work for nothing. And then you look around and you're like, oh yeah, okay,
That's
that was just a
exactly
dream.
what I thought.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I thought. All that hard work for nothing. And you had hit
yeah.
me up days prior asking me about doing another podcast. And I was like, bruh, did I just, oh my God, I'm going to have to tell this guy the truth. I've been smoking, but I,
We don't have to do that. Look at us now. Yeah. Oh, that's
three,
good. That's good.
3 months would be tomorrow.
Sweet. Yo, that's awesome. Congratulations. Round of
Thank you.
applause, everyone, for Kristel. Very cool. For, that's a big milestone, like I think one of the hardest part to get through for quitting weed is that first month. That's usually the hardest. I would even narrow it down to the first week because it's still so raw. It's still in the system. There's still all the intense withdrawals. So
Mhm.
that's something I really want to touch on now is that how did you get through those initial withdrawal periods? Especially for a lot of people that watch this channel, they seem to be stuck in that stage, getting through that first week, that 2 weeks.
Well, I got a board so I could write down all the things I miss out on because of weed, all the things that I don't benefit from smoking weed, all the things that make me like disappointed about weed,
Mm,
my conspiracies
huge.
about everything that I could possibly think of that was affecting me negatively from weed, like including the CHS and the blurring of time and being disorganized or the lack of sleep or the whatever it was. I put it on a list. It's still on, I still have that list. Like as soon as I wake up, I can see it. And then it was honestly honoring my promise to myself. And I think that most people have a hard time honoring themselves because they're used to breaking their own promises and their boundaries. But I just found other things to commit to, like working out or whatever it is. And I saw, oh, wait, I could commit to this and not break my promise on this. So let me see if I could translate that into the marijuana thing. But I think for me, it was relatively easy because CHS and that outer body experience kind of set the tone of, do you really want to die like in a Los Angeles apartment over $3,000? You know, like,
Winner.
yeah, like
Winner.
I think that's what, kind of made me go, this is not it. But, also hanging out with people that don't pressure you to smoke. Like, it's okay if your friends smoke or whatever, but friends that go, hey, I'm gonna, like my friend, when we're hanging out, smokes on the other side of the apartment, then comes back and like, hey, what's going on with the movie? Da-da-da-da. And I'm like, oh, that's a dog I'm dog sitting.
Okay.
That's Teddy.
What's up, dude?
So, oh, he came here. Hold on. Come here.
Intermission. Oh, stop. Get
Is
that out of here. Get him out of here. That's too much. Too much.
So, yeah. Also like getting busy, like babysitting my friend's dog, spending more time outside, not hanging out with people that pressure me, not drinking, not finding other reasons to be upset about something, to not make an excuse to want to smoke. Because it's
Amen.
the other day I was like, oh, I dumped my boyfriend, I'm gonna go smoke weed. And then I was like, what is wrong with me? That cannot be a solution for my problem. So yeah, just finding different solutions and not resorting to making weed your excuse.
I love that. I love that you touched on all of those points. And like, next question is, did you like come up with that on your own, or did you like seek any outside help? What? Because that's
Yeah,
pretty intuitive.
I watched your videos. I watched different people's videos that I felt like were relatively young and had, some long-term experience with marijuana use. And I saw what they did and what they would tell themselves and their different affirmations. And I was like, okay, let me see if I can incorporate that in my life right now. And it somehow emerged pretty well. But again, in the combination of the circumstances, also me wanting to smoke, me wanting to quit smoking, me wanting to quit smoking merged together perfectly at the time. And then that's when I saw you on YouTube. And I was like, let's see what this guy's talking about. And when you talked about feeling like, man, I don't want to miss out on all these good things that are going to come up in my life because I might die because I'm smoked or get arrested or something stupid. Like, I don't want to miss out on it over marijuana. And I thought about it long and hard. And I'm like, yeah, I really don't want to miss out on things that I value or find important just because I want to smoke. And the most important thing is my child, his life, my own career, my life, and the people I love. Like, that's more important than me going to the garage and taking 20 minutes out of my life to go smoke.
That's awesome, Kristel. That's super inspiring. And guys, like heat that. Like, she took action, right? That's what I took away from this. She took action. She got out there. She found solutions and she implemented them. Definitely had some divine guidance with the circumstances of life. Like, you were at your kind of rock bottom and you had the desire to quit, and they kind of meshed into one. So I had a very similar experience where my life was at complete shit and I had the desire to quit. So I think that helped a lot. Getting out there, getting exercise, having really recognizing what values you have and following through with those. That's really cool. Yeah, I'm just taking that in for a minute here because that's
It's such
awesome.
a thing to choose trusting yourself and choose the commitment you make to yourself. Like it's a different feeling. Like
It is.
I've never been so sure about saying no
Hmm.
to something. And when I finally did it and I could see that I'm doing it and I don't really have any true desire, I'm like, is this what growing up is like? Wow. Being a grown up isn't that bad.
Right?
Yeah.
You get freedom. It's kind of freeing actually, right?
Yes,
You
it
get to
is.
you get to like do what you want.
I had an event. I'm a photographer, and I went to an event, and it was a marijuana event. It was called Girls Like Ganja, and it was hosted by one of my friends, the Ganja Guru. I'm not plugging him in. I'm just, you know, but
Links will be below, guys. You can check them out.
so I went to his event, and there was like 30 girls, and they were going in. I'm talking about smoking 4, 5, 7 blood, and I could not. Number one, I couldn't handle the smell, but my body was reacting to it negatively. Like my body was like,
whoa.
I was like kind of
I
gagging
could sense it.
and but I had no desire. No desire. There's girls just rolling up, like, you want one? I ended up just getting like $200 worth of marijuana and giving it to my friend. Like, here you go, man. I get this shit out of my house. It was great.
Take it. Now, question for you. What would you recommend for folks that maybe still have that desire? Because both you and I, when we finally quit, that desire was gone because we were in so much consequence. Our lives were just kind of in shambles.
Mm-hmm.
How about for somebody like, and I know this might be hard to come up with the answer because we haven't actually experienced it, but for somebody that is like, yeah, has a job, has a family relationship, etc., and it's kind of just eating at them from behind, what would you suggest?
Eating at them from behind?
Yeah, like in the shadows. Get your mind out of the gutter, Kristel.
I'm sorry, we asked a question. What was
intermission guy. It was so if you got someone out for anybody who has like a decent life, right? Their life isn't complete shit. How would you recommend them quit weed if they still have that desire? The desire hasn't been lifted.
I would say try to be fair with yourself, because you can't just make, not in many cases, you can't just make, my dog is acting crazy. Stop, bro. He's harassing me. Okay, so you have to see his face. So like, what I recommend is not being so hard on yourself and not looking at this has to be something that needs to be done right now. I'm so sorry. I think he's dying.
You can keep going. It's just like little background noise. No worries.
Okay. So not be so hard on yourself and don't expect yourself to do things perfectly. And if it's not aligned right now, at least you already have it in your mind. Be happy that you even have it in your mind. Don't take it as a negative thing like, oh, I want to quit smoking, but it's not happening. This sucks. It needs to be like, oh, I have the feeling of wanting to quit smoking. I'm thinking about it. That's a vibe. That's it. It doesn't need to be anything
progress.
More or less than that. At least you're thinking about it and you're positive about it. That's pretty good. Also, if you have like a lot of stress and problems in your life that you feel that, marijuana helps you cope with, I think that you could be honest with yourself and see if it's an excuse. Because sometimes we'll use it as an excuse, just like alcohol. Like, yeah, I'm stressed out, so I'm going to drink. Da-da-da. But then the next day you have a really bad hangover and then you're shitty at work. So unless you're not having problems when you're smoking pot, and you could, go about your business or your schoolwork with no problem, or be a good parent or a good spouse, no problem. But if it's not, then I just think it's a crutch and an excuse to not use your better judgment. So be okay with being like, hey, you know what? It's okay for me to use my better judgment. I don't need to judge myself negatively, but I need to use my better judgment. when it comes to what's adding to my life and what's
Mm,
taken away. And then obviously hang out with people that are cool with you saying no, you
mm,
know, hang out with people that are cool with you saying no. And the people that stress you out, you got to be honest with them and say, hey, listen, right now I'm trying to quit doing some things like smoking or drinking or whatever. And I think that if you can like help me by kind of easing some of my stress with either communication or going out and playing tennis with me, like maybe we could find other things to do. It'll help me, quit. And the benefit to that is that maybe I'm going to be a better person,
mm,
at work or with you, or we'll be able to save money. So
mhm,
we don't have to spend our money on weed. We could spend our money on something else. So, tell them what's in it for you, but also tell it what's in it for them.
yeah.
If you're able to quit and feel better about yourself.
And worst case scenario is that the relationship runs its course, right? There's gonna be some friends that aren't into that, that aren't gonna support that, and that's totally okay. Something I say a lot on the channel is that we become like the 5 people we surround yourself with, and that's not
Mhm.
the quote I made up. It's out there in the ether. But I think that's a really good point. Like getting around people that are going to support your mission, going to support your values. Going back to what you said earlier about values, I got right. It was a few months, but I got into recovery groups, and I found people that were also not smoking weed. So that's a very that
Mhm.
was very helpful as well. And I had to step back from the friends I was smoking with because what I realized is almost anyone I hung out with on a day to day basis, we only hung out because we smoked weed together. And then
Mhm.
once that fell apart, it kind of revealed maybe the truth of the relationship. And so
Mhm.
that was definitely tough. But I think those are great points. There is to really focus on again tapping into your values. And I really like what you said too, that don't beat yourself up. As people with an addiction, it's just a common thread, but often we're very hard on ourselves. Why?
Mhm.
I'm still not sure 100% yet. It's something I still work on today, and I've been off weed for a very long time. Just giving myself grace, letting myself be a human, messing up, doing stupid stuff, even when I'm trying my best. So really, really, yeah, cutting yourself some slack and recognizing that it's progress. It's not perfection. You're gonna get another shot if you slip back. Just keep on the horse. So that's awesome, guys. So we'll take a quick pause here. Kristel, where can people find you if they want to connect and see your socials and stuff?
Yeah, you can follow me on Emo Centric Shoddy, which is my YouTube, or you could find me on Facebook, Kristel Estefania. And yeah,
I think you're gonna
you
have to
can
spell that.
ISTEL, and then Estefania
Oh, it's
is
like ISTL. Oh, come on.
my name is right there on the bottom.
I is it ISTL? Was that what it was?
Kristel is my first
Okay.
name, and Estefania is Estephania.
That's so fun. Yeah. Facebook. And then we got emo centric shorty on YouTube. Cool. Yeah, guys, check her stuff out. Definitely support a newer creator on the scene, and got a couple of vids that are popping. So I saw that one about like Tate and stuff. Yeah, that's pretty
Oh
cool. So
God.
um, I got a ton of views. That was sick. Cool. So yeah, let's continue here. Um, so what I'm curious about is what are some of the benefits you've received? So you've been off weed for 3 months now. What? Yeah, just dive in.
So main benefits are clear head. Like I can really think things through really well. Like if I want to edit a picture, I don't really gotta go through a whole bunch of things. Like, oh, I forgot how this tool works. Like my brain already knows how the tool works. Like I naturally know how to do things, and I'm not looking for help for tiny little steps. Like I'm not. How do I say? Like my order of operations in my brain is very much fluid. It just
Mm,
flows.
nice.
And also, I'm super hyped up at the fact that I can stay up late without having a party like everybody else.
Mm,
So like everybody needs to smoke like 20 blunts to stay up until 4 a.m. I'm like, I already stay up until 4 a.m. So I'm like, I have way more energy and it feels natural. So
Yeah.
that's great. That's natural energy. Um, Also, my hair isn't as dry and my lips are actually like pink. Like when I take off my lipstick, my lips are actually like obviously my skin tone pink. So it's like nice. Before it was like black and I had to like
Gross.
paint it. Like, yeah, it was like
Oh,
black.
interesting. I would
And so,
imagine that comes from like every time you smoked, it would dehydrate your lips.
yeah,
Probably
yeah.
the smoke would take the moisture out. Yeah.
Also, I don't have that much social.
Side note.
Like, I don't like,
Less social anxiety. Cool.
yeah, like I'll hang out with people and know exactly what to say. I could like cut through the short little simple chit chat and
Mm,
have like a really great conversation with somebody without feeling weird, without being self-conscious about what about my hair? What about, my outfit? Like I don't care. Like I'm okay with that. Um Also, I don't overthink as much.
mm.
I don't overthink about people, other people or myself. So that's great. The self-consciousness is like gone. Like I'm not self-conscious at all. Um,
Sweet.
Also, I'm very present with my friends, um, and my family. Like I'm having really in-depth conversations, and then like let's say they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna call you back," and we're left in between that conversation. I can still pick up and go, "Oh, and this is what you were saying," and da 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 da. Whereas
Mm,
before, I'm like, "What were you talking about again?" And I didn't like that because then it just made me seem
yeah.
or like I didn't care, and I don't like
Right.
making it feel like that. Um, yeah, my advice is way better. Um, I'm better at scheduling things. Just I'm a better grown up.
Mm.
I'm a better grown up. Like that's crazy. Yeah, I think all around I'm just a better grown up, and I'm so much sure about myself. Like people usually say, "Oh, when you get older, you don't care and you're super sure about yourself then." But for me, I was just like using marijuana as a way to feel like if I smoke this, I'm gonna feel like chill and I know exactly what to say, but I didn't. Now I'm like I know exactly what to say and do. Um, God, there's just so much. I don't I don't like I don't walk over things or I don't just sweep things under the rug anymore. If something bothers me, instead of like I address it, but I take too long to address it. Now I address it right away and I'm less
Mm.
emotional, which is really dope.
Nice.
It'd
That's
be
pun intended.
yeah. Oh, it's it's great to be so emotional and just make strategic decisions instead of being so up and down because
Right.
I'm so
Reacting on your emotions. You're
yeah,
reacting off your logic and your what you actually want instead of just like, oh, I feel this way. I'm just gonna make a decision off that. Yeah.
yeah. It's such a good
I
feeling.
It's such a good feeling. I had that same thing recently where I'd have a pretty difficult conversation, and in the past, I would have probably like let it sit for like 2 or 3 years, and I'm like, okay, let's have this conversation uh, as soon as possible, and
Mhm.
it was resolved, and I feel like way better about it. Like it's just like I feel that same thing. It's so much easier to move through conflict, and in turn, there's much less conflict because it's just like if something comes up, it's a lot easier to resolve. And I think that's because we're not suppressing all of that with the weed anymore. We're not running from it. We're not running from that discomfort of the situation or the event or the person we have to talk to, etc. It's like we can just tackle it in the
And it's
moment.
not weighing on you. That's another thing I noticed. Like if I had a conversation with you and it was negative or positive, it doesn't weigh on me. Like it doesn't
Mm,
stick around where I'm like ruminating about it or like, did I say that right? Did I say that wrong? It's like I said it, I was clear, I wasn't foggy minded, I wasn't emotional. It's done.
okay.
And I don't dwell on it for freaking 2-3 months like I used to.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Like not dwelling and ruminating, I felt like marijuana made me a huge ruminator. Like I would think about a
Mm.
problem for weeks and weeks on end. And I'm just like, I thought marijuana was supposed to help me forget this crap. And instead, it's amplifying the way I feel
Yeah.
about it.
It maybe help for a little bit to suppress it, but then once
Mm-hmm.
that weed wears off, it's right there. It's
Yep.
like, got to deal with it. Yeah, that's a huge benefit of quitting weed for sure, is just that clear thinking, being able to address issues pronto instead of having to, yeah, just wait around for them to just like, go crazy and then cause havoc in one's life. How have relationships improved since you've quit smoking?
So, as far as my tolerance for like things that I'm not okay with, they've gone way down. Like I have even lesser tolerance for things that I do not find acceptable. So that's something that feels good, and I feel confident when I say things, and I don't feel like, well, I'm high. I'm just saying this because I'm emotional. Now it's like, yeah, no, for real. It doesn't matter how good I feel today or how bad I feel today. What I mean is what I mean. But my relationships with everyone, like everybody tells me that now I have more good days than bad days. So out of 30 days, I'll have 20 good days and only 10 bad days. So that to me is like, what?
Were you
Like,
did you
oh,
switch that before? Was it
troll. I didn't know it was a troll before, but it's good to know that I'm not a troll anymore.
it's a win,
Yeah.
guys? Quit weed. Stop being a troll.
Yeah. Um,
You're
I
just
think,
it sounds like you're just, to me, like you're just less negative, right? You just have more of a positive outlook on life. You feel more optimistic. I even noticed a difference from when we first chatted, probably a couple months now. You seem
yeah,
like you have more life to you, and that just rubs off on other people as well. So yeah, you're doing
yeah,
great, and
I
yeah,
am much like if I had to rate it 1 to 20 how happy I am, I would say like 17, 18.
nice. I've never seen anyone use the 1 to 20 scale. That's a new one. It's more
Oh,
accurate than the 1 to 10 for sure, because you get. Yeah.
yeah,
I think I'm a 17 a lot of the time. It's not like
I thought the 1
an
to 20
8 or
is
9.
accurate because I feel like there's levels of stress that a 10 a 10 is, but a 20 is like holy shit, you're really like you're fucked. But can I say that on this? Anyway, but yeah, I like my level of happiness, I cannot describe. Like, wow. Like I don't even feel like the same person. I don't even recognize my personality that much. I'm just like, wow. Sometimes like, who's this? Am I really thinking this way?
Is
Like,
this my life? What?
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think I'm getting used to it too. I'm
Yeah.
just getting used to it too, like being this person. I've never felt happy just because usually I wake up and I just want to die, you know?
Right.
That's how depressed and emo I was. And now I wake up and I'm like, sweet, what's next?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
if
This
something
is
bad
Oh,
happens,
that's awesome.
even if something bad happens, I'm like, well, that's all it took to put me in a good mood. What else can I fix today?
Hmm.
So
I
yeah.
was the same. I would envy people that were happy. Like, I would look at them and be like, "How the fuck?" Like, and they weren't smoking weed every day. That was a huge part of it. So, I
Yeah.
think that does make a big difference. I'm curious, what are some of your goals coming up? Like, now that you have this new opportunity ahead of you, right? You have a future. You know you have stuff to look forward to and work towards. What are some of the big goals in your life that you're just like pumped for?
Okay, but I wanted to say this. Another thing about not smoking, it's actually experiencing the high on life quote.
Hmm.
Like when people say, "Oh, I'm high on life" or whatever, like actually experiencing being high on life is one of the most I just it feels like you really know what being grateful and thankful feels like.
Hmm.
It's so definitely an inner peace and an inner gratitude I could have never experience if I didn't quit. So like, yeah. But
Nice. I remember I would the high I feel without weed is what I sought for with weed and what I sought for with other drugs,
yeah,
ecstasy. And none of those highs compare because it lasts. It's like
yeah,
this is you. This is real. This isn't gonna
yeah,
wear off in 3 hours after I leave the concert. It's like I get to go to
yeah.
bed like this. This is pretty nice. Yeah.
It's freaking amazing, man. Like if this is what like being in touch with yourself or being close to God feels like or whatever, it's great. I love it. So as far as goals, so I am a filmmaker, and so I'm trying to get my short film into production. And so I've been trying to like run my campaigns and get my project together and off the ground. It's been really tough as far as budget, but I'm still super excited that I'm doing this no matter how hard it is. So that's like my main
I
goal.
love that.
My
I
my
love that you said that you love it even though it's hard, which is not something that I think you would have said when you were smoking. I know I would have said, I'd be like, "Oh, are you kidding me? It's hard. I'm not going
Yeah,
to attempt that, right?" Like you're willing to
yep.
take on challenges. You're willing to face difficult things, and it's just enjoyable. It's enjoyable to have like tough situations come up. It's wild.
It's enjoyable to be like it's almost like I'm high off of problem solving.
Mm, yeah, because we're humans. That's what we're supposed to do. We're
Yeah,
supposed to solve problems. That's how we
yeah,
survived as a species. So when we're not doing that, when we were sedating ourselves with weed, we weren't in touch with being human. We were
exactly.
like zombies. Yep.
Yep.
I think that's why some of those highs come back because it's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a human
Like
being again.
I'm smiling thinking about it. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
So
Um and I guess my next goal is honestly just continue to create, continue to keep a great relationship with my family. Um and also just being more thankful and appreciative of life because I feel like I wasted a lot of time. So now I'm kind of getting back the time that I wasted. So I think just my immediate goals are finishing my projects and also really appreciating life. Like whether that means travel, whether that means giving back, whether that means, repairing relationships that may have been broken with myself or with others. I think
definitely.
spending more time with animals, just
Mm,
just simple things, man. Like the simple
yeah.
things are
Right. That's another crazy thing too, is that you might realize is that when you quit, like life's just pretty simple. And
Mhm.
that's like the best part is when the simple things are like so enjoyable, like just talking with someone, like doing this like live stream here. This is awesome. Going for a workout, etc. And I remember when I was smoking, I'd be like, dude, like boring. Let's just get this done with so I can go smoke weed, right? It's
Wow.
like I just such a yeah, so many hours just gone. So I mean that's really awesome. And best of luck on that goals, on your goals and getting that movie out and stuff. And I'm sure we'll do another stream eventually.
Yeah.
Last thing before we dish off here, what advice would you give for people on the path and trying to quit weed?
Be the person that well, number one, look at your life in 20, 30 years. Is this who you really want to be? Or just do you
Mm,
still want to do this? And if it's not something that you want, you have to create the discipline and the desire to want to change. So it's not as hard when you're older and more fragile and more delicate. Um, and also, don't care about how people view you or wanting to fit in because it's your body. And if you really feel like this is hurting you and it's not a benefit to you,
mm,
you owe it to yourself to give yourself that love and respect.
for
Um,
sure,
and
for
as
sure.
far, like, if it is benefiting you, do it within the moderation that isn't going to destroy your life. If you're seeing that people are telling you, hey, you're different. You're not doing this. You're not doing that because you're choosing marijuana. It's okay to listen. It's okay to listen. You don't have to take everything as Bible, but it's okay to listen and have some introspective conversations with yourself. It might save your life. It might keep you from going to jail. It may keep you from losing money, or even something as stupid as your losing your phone can ruin everything. Something like crashing your car because you're trying to pick up your joint, can
Mm,
ruin anything.
right,
So like,
right.
if you're gonna do things, do them responsibly. Put your safety in your hands and don't leave it up to other people. Put
Mm.
your happiness in your hands and don't leave it up to drugs. So I think it's really simple. Just trust yourself and commit to yourself for once. You know?
And simple, it's not easy. It's not easy, but once you accept that it's simple, yeah, it's like, okay, I can actually take daily steps on this for sure.
And look
I
at it
would
as a positive. Look at it as a positive, like we talked about earlier. Like, if there's something you want to change about yourself, don't make it like, oh, I got to change this about myself because I suck. No, you got to change this about yourself because it's good for you and you like good things.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Clip that. Uh, I did that exact same thing when I quit. I asked myself, like, in 5 years from now, if I look back at my life, would I be happy with if I was still doing the same thing? And the
Mm.
answer is no. And it was scary to accept that those 5 years are going to go by, like, no matter what, whether I'm smoking or I'm not smoking, 5 years is going to pass. And do I
Yeah.
want to be looking back 5 years from now and saying, dang, dude, I wish I would have just, like, kind of sucked it up and went through the pain of quitting. My life could
Yeah.
be so much better. And that fear really drove me to quit. So I think that's a great tip is to really think ahead of your life. And I was talking to a buddy last night, and he was saying that the one of the issues people with addiction have is that we look too in the moment, right? Which is
Mhm.
not a which is like obviously all the Buddhist meditations that people say be in the moment, but we look into it too in the moment, where it's like, how do I find pleasure right now? And part of being a grown up, like you talked about earlier, is that you're maturing, is that you look years down the line. You look, where might I be in 10, 20 years? And sometimes people can do that too much though. And so they just get obsessed about the future, right? So it's really about finding that balance. But like, how do I do positive things now, like you said, to get to where I want to be later down the line? And that's when stuff starts to roll. That's when, pun intended, that's when stuff to pick up and progress gets. I love weed puns. If you guys haven't could tell already, that's when stuff gets rolling and stuff. So yeah, I think that's something definitely to consider. And I've been thinking about that a lot. So yeah, Chris, anything else you want to touch on?
Yeah, like when you said about, 5 years from now, just think about the things like as simple as you choosing weed over going to the gym. But then 30, 40 years from now, you have arthritis and you're like,
Hmm.
it's so hard for you to work out. And working out helps you blast arthritis. Like it really helps you
Oh,
in it. And because you chose marijuana this whole time, which progresses these things in a way of, if you get dehydrated enough, you're not going to get the nutrients you need into your body and your bones. So you pretty much traded in a good time for physical pain because you decided, I'm going to smoke instead of going to the gym. So I would say, like, if you want to smoke and go to the gym, be fair to yourself. Don't take one thing out completely and do another. And then slowly wean out the marijuana or whatever addiction you have. So the other thing that's more positive can take over. Yeah,
yeah,
don't
just
don't
trading
play
stuff.
with your future because just like this, me and you are gonna be 70 years old.
Yes, we
Yeah.
are. Yes. And we'll be talking over some, like, thing that projects, let's be able to time travel or fucking whatever is going to happen in 70 years. I don't know. You're so right. Thinking about death is very important. I think it's a great spiritual practice, and thinking that one day, Kristel, the three of you watching right now, we'll all be out of here, And then within 30 minutes, no one will think about us ever again for the rest of eternity. We'll just be like, no one will care. And I can, was that?
We're going to be little vapors.
We're going to be a little vape, pun intended.
Oh,
You're setting me up on this. Yeah, we're gonna go up in smoke, and no one will remember. And so I think the point of that is not to get depressed, like, oh, I don't really matter. It's to say, like, yeah, I don't really matter, so I might as well just have fun and do what and live my best life, because and help other people too.
Maybe nobody else remembers, but we will.
We'll be dead.
Even though when we go, we still have some of our memories. That's just my personal belief.
Okay, sure.
I would really not like if I left this world at 70 and been like, man, I really didn't quit smoking weed, and here I am with my hunchback because I couldn't just put the weed down and go to the gym once in a while. How embarrassing. And look at Angela Bassett. She's 900 years old and she still looks good. What the hell?
She can do it. You can do it.
Right.
Cool. Awesome. Hey, Kristel, thanks so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. This was great. We got I learned a lot from hearing your story, and hopefully you guys did too. So like, comment, subscribe as always. Comment down below if you relate to this or want to reach out to Kristel. This is the first episode on the Sobriety University podcast. So thank you for being part of it, Kristel, and going to have a lot more of this to come. So have a great night, guys, and talk to you soon. Peace.
Ciao.